Have you ever heard someone say, I am who I am. I was born this way. Or perhaps my dad was like this and I'm just like him. Or perhaps you've even said it yourself. It's easy to feel like our identity is fixed or set in stone by our experiences, our beliefs, and the roles that we play in life. But what if we told you that your identity is actually much more fluid? In this episode of The Brain Changes, we're going to explore how our sense of self is shaped, and more importantly, how we can reshape it to align with our true values and desires. Welcome to The Brain Changes, a podcast about learning how to revolutionize the way you think and live by mastering your mind. We're your hosts, mother and daughter duo Rebecca and Yvonne King from Moonbeam Monday. Our goal is to empower you to live the life you choose by teaching you how to retrain your brain. Some people tell us it sounds like mind control, and it is, but not the way you might think. This is about you taking control of your own mind rather than letting your mind control you, so you can choose to live a life free from the expectations of others. No matter what you've experienced in the past, you can create positive change and transformation by learning how to master your mind. We know this because we've done it. Between us, we've survived cancer and stroke and eliminated debilitating anxiety and depression. We've turned our pain into purpose through the power of our mind, and we're now here to support and guide you to do the same. In this podcast, we share valuable insights about how your brain works, why you think, say, and do the things you do, how to begin the process of change, and why it's necessary. Because we know that when you change your mind, you change your life. Thanks for joining us. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Brain Changes. I'm Rebecca and I'm here with my co-host Yvonne. And today we're talking about something that touches every aspect of our lives, and that is our identity. So we're going to explore how our identity is formed, how it can evolve, and how tuning into our true inner selves can help us navigate life's challenges. Sound good?
Absolutely, Beck, and hello to all our listeners. You know, identity is so much more than the roles we play or the labels we wear. A lot of us are walking around feeling disconnected from our true selves, trying to live up to what others expect of us. But identity runs much deeper than that. It's about who we are at our core, way beneath the surface.
Right. And we tend to forget that. So let me ask you this. How many times have you met someone new and rather than asking something like, who are you? The first thing you ask is, so what do you do? If you do a lot of networking, that's probably the first question you ask a lot of people. We tend to define ourselves by external factors, our jobs, our family roles, and even societal expectations. But when all of those things are stripped away, who are we really? It's a big question, and I'm not even suggesting that it's an easy question to answer. For most of us, it's pretty hard.
Yes, it is. Our identity actually starts forming very early in our life as a very young child. It's as we've learned in previous podcasts, we're shaped by our environment, our upbringing, our culture, education, all of those things. But as we grow older, we begin to gain more self-awareness. And the challenge is that many of us just simply get stuck in these old patterns, clinging to an identity that may no longer serve us at all. It belongs in the past. The truth is, identity isn't fixed. It's fluid. We can evolve it as we grow and change.
Yes, that's so true. I'd say there's always a part of us that remains the same. And for those who were listening to the episode where I interviewed Alice Torgs, human design expert, that raises an interesting point, of course. But I can truthfully say that I'm not the same person I was when I was 15, 20, 30, even 5 years ago. I mean, there's a lot that's the same, of course, but so much that has evolved in that time. And that's where so many of us get tripped up, isn't it? We get wrapped up in roles like mother, accountant, partner, and we forget to check in with who we are underneath all of that. And when we're disconnected from our core, it's easy to feel unfulfilled, or a word that I'm starting to hear a lot of, lost.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to pause and just reconnect with our inner selves.
Mm.
Now, a lot of people say, and how on earth do you do that? What does it even mean?
Mm.
Well, one of the best ways to do that initially is to start by tuning in to our emotions. Now, emotions, once again, these are like a compass. They tell us what's working and what isn't.
Mm.
Yet most of us have been taught to ignore them or bury them, especially the uncomfortable ones like fear and anger.
Yes. I think we've talked about that before, haven't we? As kids, many of us have been told, stop crying, or be quiet, or even, toughen up, princess. It's like we're being taught to be logical and rational, and anything emotional is seen as weakness. Now, I'm generalizing, of course. I'm not talking about everybody's upbringing, but this is quite common. But emotions are such powerful guides, and if we learn to listen to them, and it can be a really hard thing to do. And I know this firsthand because it's something that I've been spending a lot of time on myself this year, really allowing myself to feel emotions and sit with them and understand them, because it's not something that I would say that I've been particularly good at in my life. So, how do we start identifying those core emotions?
Well, it starts with slowing down and, as I said, checking in with ourselves. We live in a very fast-paced world today. We're constantly moving from one task to the next without stopping to ask, how do I actually feel? And I would add here that we live in a society where we're very much concerned with what we're thinking
Mm.
instead of what we're feeling. So we need to take a moment to notice what's going on inside of us. What are we feeling? And sometimes we find it hard to identify those feelings, but sometimes we actually get feelings in our body like tightness in the chest or that terrible feeling in the pit of your stomach.
Mm.
These are actually clues to what you are feeling.
Yes, so true. I found that our bodies often give us more information than we realize. And I now know when I'm feeling an ache or a pain or a discomfort of any kind in my body, the first thing I actually do is consult a book that I have, The Secret Language of the Body, because it helps me work out perhaps what I need to be focusing on, like what is actually happening. This is that true mind body connection. So once we've tuned in and recognized this emotion, what's the next step from there?
Well, the next important step is to actually name it. If you're feeling anxious, say, I'm anxious, but the important thing is we need to start then uncovering why we're feeling anxious. Or if you're feeling angry, name it. Once you name the emotion, it's going to lose some of its power over you. It's actually like shining a light on something hidden in the dark. Once it's out in the open, it is less intimidating. We can identify it.
Yeah, I love that. By naming that emotion, we take back some control over it. And control is something we all like, right? I know there's a lot of people out there who label themselves as control freaks. Now, of course, if you've listened to us talking about language before, we'd suggest that there's maybe a better way to reframe that. But who am I kidding? We all like to have control. But how do we go from recognizing and naming this emotion to actually moving past it?
Well, that is a great question too, Beck. Moving past emotions isn't about ignoring them or pushing them away. It's about feeling them, processing them, and then making decisions based on your values, not your fears. For example, if you're anxious about a big decision, ask yourself, what is behind this anxiety? We need to start asking ourselves some questions. Is it fear of failure? Is it fear of judgment? Ask yourself these questions, really dig deep as to what is making us feel anxious, because anxiety is just a coping mechanism that we have to try and override the emotional overwhelm that we might be feeling. So we've got to get beneath that. We've got to find out what's making us feel this way. And once we understand the belief that's driving the emotion, then we can start to challenge it.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this is good news or bad news for our listeners, but what you're saying is if we really want to grow, we can't ignore our emotions and wait for them to go away because they'll just sit there and surface some other time, probably when we least want them to.
Exactly right. Ignoring emotions, bottling them up, stuffing them down, whatever you want to call it, isn't doing you any good. It's not doing me any good. We must allow them. We have emotions for a reason.
Yeah, I think that's really important. You know, it makes me think of when we've been told or when we hear people saying to a child, for example, stop crying. It's like there's a reason that that child is crying. We need to help them understand that. Hey there, listeners. This is Rebecca King, the Brain Changer, helping you revolutionize the way you think so you can live your life on purpose. If you're loving what you're learning here on The Brain Changers, we've got something special for you. Take back control of your own mind and truly connect with like-minded people by joining our Mind Masters Collective, a premium subscription membership for those who want to feel happy and confident again, to feel seen, heard, and valued at an incredibly affordable price. Inside, you'll gain exclusive access to a supportive community of people on the same journey as you, knowing they want something more and ready to invest in themselves to achieve it. You'll get loads of valuable resources and expert guidance on mastering your mind to help you live your absolute best life. You'll make new connections and friends that you didn't even know you needed. We'll get close and personal in monthly masterclasses with guest experts and monthly mastermind group coaching to help you navigate the challenges and celebrate the wins as you grow and change. Join us now by clicking the link in the show notes. We're all waiting excitedly for you to join us inside the collective. Okay, so we've recognized the emotion, we've named it, and now we start to challenge it. And that's where reframing comes in, right? It's about looking at that fear or anxiety or anger, whatever the emotion is, looking at it in a different way so it doesn't block you from moving forward.
Exactly. Reframing is actually a very powerful NLP tool. Let's say fear is holding you back from pursuing a new opportunity. Instead of asking yourself what could go wrong, which is our initial reaction, isn't it? We think we list up all the things that could possibly go wrong. But maybe we need to say to ourselves, what's the worst that could happen? And if it does happen, what could I learn from it? So this shift in perspective helps move fear from a roadblock to a stepping stone.
Yeah, and I think it's really important here to say, you know, it is quite normal that we initially go to that worst case scenario. Our brain is wired that way. It has a negativity bias. It's that survival mechanism in that original primal brain that we have. So if you find yourself going straight to the negative, then that's okay. That's normal. But this is about retraining our brain, right? And so, yeah, asking, well, what's the worst that could happen? But what I love even more is asking, what's the best thing that could happen here? And even asking yourself both of those questions, asking yourself, what's the best thing that could happen here, puts a whole new perspective on the perceived problem. And, it's important that we begin to do this to retrain our brains to then, instead of going straight for the negative, moving into that positive. This is all about hardwiring happiness, hardwiring positivity. And I really love how visualization plays into this as well. When we start to visualize success, even in the face of fear, we mentally prepare ourselves for that success. It's not just about dreaming, it's about creating a mental pathway to achieve what we want.
Exactly right, Beck. In fact, this is a key thing that many very successful people utilize all the time to achieve what they dream of doing. It's a very powerful way to shift from fear to excitement. Think of someone like Michelle Obama. Before she became First Lady, she visualized herself as a leader, even before she had the title. Oprah did the same. She imagined herself as a successful talk show host long before it became a reality for her. So by visualizing themselves in these roles, they actually prepared their minds and emotions for the journey ahead.
Yes, and I know that you've done this quite successfully too, haven't you?
I
Using
have.
visualization. Yeah. So it's not just about picturing the end goal, but also visualizing how we'll act and feel along the way, right?
Yes, it's about stepping into that future version of yourself emotionally and mentally. And once you do, your actions actually start to align with your vision. You begin to make decisions that lead you closer to the life you want. And I think this is a really key point, is that your actions will begin to support what you want in life.
Yes. And I think that's so empowering, isn't it? Realizing that we have the power to reshape our identity by aligning with our true values and beliefs, which we've spoken about in previous episodes, rather than getting stuck in these old patterns.
Exactly. It's all about living from the inside out, letting your core self guide your decisions rather than being shaped by external expectations. And we know this can be hard. We live in a world and society where this is the norm. But when we do this, life becomes more fulfilling because we're living in alignment with who we really are.
Yeah. Yeah. So, to everyone listening, if you are feeling disconnected from your true self, if you've found yourself saying, I don't even know who I am anymore, or perhaps you're at a bit of a fork in the road and you're wondering what the next part of your life is going to look like, start by tuning in to your emotions. Identify what's going on inside, name it, and use that knowledge to guide you back to your core. Your visualization, as we've said, is a great tool to help you step into that person that you want to become. And remember, it's about progress, not perfection.
Well said, Beck. It's not about being flawless.
Yeah.
It's about being authentic. And that's where the real magic happens.
Yes. And so that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found this episode on identity helpful and inspiring. And if you enjoyed it, please remember to subscribe and share it with someone who might need a little help reconnecting with their true self. And we'll catch you next time on The Brain Changes. And until then, remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Brain Changers. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Our mission is to reach as many people as possible to help them revolutionize the way they think so they can change their brain and create profound transformation. Please help us broaden our reach by sharing this episode with someone you know will benefit. And remember to tag us on socials at Moonbeam Monday and leave a review. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. We'll catch you next time for another episode of The Brain Changers.